Hey everyone, Questwise here, and this is kind of an impromptu video. Not one I am planned on doing, but one that has just sort of fell uh, into my lap, sort of. As many of you know, when I travel, I like to check out different game stores in the areas that I'm in, show them a little bit of love, give you a little bit of inspiration into visiting their store and what you might find there. And this one, oddly enough, was a brand new store that's in my local hometown of Traverse City, Michigan, that I didn't even know about. Thankfully, after having stopped in at the recommendation of a friend and talking to the owners, I realized that they've only been open for 11 days. And that is Lantern Games. Yes, right here, Lantern Games in Traverse City, Michigan. Very, very cool new place. What's cool about it? Well, it's a very open, inviting space. It's a very modern feel. It has a very sort of, if you've ever been inside of an Apple store or something akin to that, it's that kind of a feeling. It's very modern, it's very bright, it's very airy. It has lots of room to move into, kind of a minimalist sort of theme to it, but still a lot of stuff in the store. They specialize in tabletop games, from board games, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and even today, what we're going to talk about, Flesh and Blood. This is a game that I've heard about before. I've watched some videos over on the Team Covenant YouTube channel. If you haven't checked those guys out, please give them a like and subscribe. They really gave me my first sort of feel of what this game was, but I had never experienced it and didn't know anything about it. Hadn't seen anything here in my local area about it. Or knew anyone that played this game. When I stopped into Lantern Games, one of the owners was super passionate about it and gave me a little bit of a rundown. So what we're going to do today, not only just introduce this amazing new game store, which you should totally check out, but we're going to give you my first impressions on Flesh and Blood. I'm going to crack open these two starter decks, or these Blitz decks as they call them, and going to show you exactly what's inside. I'll go into more detail. We might even do a video from the store, going into more depth about Flesh and Blood and how to play it. From what I understand, they are a company out of New Zealand. It is now just starting to get, it's been out for a while, but they're just now starting to get some traction in the US. And Lantern Games is kind of your home, at least for the passion of this game, in northern Michigan. Now, Lantern Games does have a fully fleshed out website. I will post a link in the description down below to their website, as well as their Facebook page, as well as a link to the company that is called Legend Story Studios, which is the company that creates Flesh and Blood. So you can check that out for yourself as well. Super great guys, Lantern Games. Thank you so much for inviting me in today and being so friendly and welcoming and warm. The Flesh and Blood, their fully functioning web store does ship everywhere in the US, although this Flesh and Blood stuff, because it's so new to them and because the supplies have been really hard to get here in the US right now, these will not be available for order until a short period of time. I think he said maybe within the coming month or something they'll be able to ship out Flesh and Blood, but everything else in their store is completely purchasable on their website and can be shipped to your home anywhere in the US. So let's zoom in a little bit closer and we'll take a look at what's in these decks. Okay, here we are. This is the Flesh and Blood. These are Blitz decks, and they are from the Monarch set. I believe this is like a basic universal set type of thing. Really quickly, we're going to kind of go through this. Again, I don't know much about this game other than it is a game, a fantasy trading card game in which you have a character from each deck, and they have equipment and they have weapons, and you're sort of narratively building them up and then battling each other. I've also understand that there is a sort of multiplayer aspect that can be played with this game. But does really, really well when it's sort of head-to-head play as well. What we're going to do today is basically just crack these open, look at some of the cards. I'll give you my initial impressions on the quality of the card, the arts on the card, and what I can kind of glean from this. I've watched a few short how to play videos since I've picked these up, and it's a very unique, seems to be a very unique style of play. These Blitz decks, I believe, are 40 cards, and this is the sort of fast play beginner sort of deck. They're the fully fleshed out decks or more advanced decks are going to be 60 card decks. And from what I've been told, it's also a very quick game. These Blitz decks, you can play a game in about 15 to 20 minutes. So if you're pressed on time, that is something you might want to look into as well, these Blitz decks. But completely playable, from what I understand, you could take these and play right out of the box, and they're very competitively balanced against each other. So we have Prism and we have Chain. They're both sort of, they have classes to them. Prism is a light illusionist, and Chain is a shadow rune blade. These are sort of keywords on the cards that allow you to build decks based around these characters. So when you buy booster packs, which they do have, just like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, what have you, you can add cards that are either generic or universal cards to your deck, or any cards that have these sort of keywords that you can add to your deck to flesh these out in any way that you would like to see. So let's start with the Prism deck. Already the quality of the box, the quality of the art, and the layout on the box itself is really, really wonderful. Okay. I did take the plastic off of these because I didn't want you to have to watch me unpeel all this kind of stuff, but here we have our Prism card. This is our character card, and you can see it's foiled. It's got that, I believe they called this cold foiling. I'm not 100% sure, but that's really exciting to see. You see this a lot in Magic the Gathering now these days, but this is really, really well done. The card quality is nice. It's comparable. This is what the back of the card looks like. Oh man, that's really beautiful. I really love this sort of medieval inspired kind of artwork around the border that circles around the logo here. That's really, really cool. I really like that. It's almost something like you'd see in like a medieval church. Very, very well done. There's all sorts of stuff hidden down in here. I want to get some clear card protectors, some sleeves for these, just because the back of these are beautiful. Alright, well, on the back to the front. So we have, this is Prism. As you can see down here, from what I understand, there are two different types of cards. There are young cards, and then I believe they're called advanced cards or adult cards. Anyhow, this is the young version of her, which is made for play with these Blitz decks. She's a light illusionist hero, and she has a sort of built-in ability. From what I understand, that this is your health limit. When you're playing the young version, you will start with 20 health, and the higher version, I believe you have 40 health, the experienced version. Over here is your intellect, or basically your hand size of cards that you can have in your hand. But yeah, the foiling on that is just wonderful. So, on to the next cards here. Okay, and so here we have, it looks like an attack card, Herald of Protection. From a little bit I've gleaned about this game, there's a couple of different things on the card that you need to make note of. Up here is the casting cost. It's kind of hard to see from this distance, but it is 2. And these little circles over here are the number of resources that you can use when they're called pitching the card. It has an aspect that's almost reminds me a little bit of the classic Star Wars trading card game from Decipher, I believe it was, where you would draw cards and use them as force to pay for other cards. And those cards would go back underneath your deck when you were finished with them for your turn. This is kind of how this works, is, from what I can glean as well, is that you use these resources, they get pitched into a pile, and the pitch pile actually gets put underneath your deck when your turn is done for you to reuse them again later. Down here, this is an attack card, so down here in this corner is the attack value, and over here this can be used also for defense, which has a defense value as well. Again, the artwork so far, very, very beautiful. This is an equipment card. The other thing I've noticed too that's really interesting is that, and I'll show you on this sort of little table here, this is kind of what your table setup should look like. Your hero card will go here, your arsenal, which we won't go into much in this video, your starting weapons will go here and here, and then just like a character in like D&D, you can only carry so much stuff. So you know, something would go in your head slot, your chest slot for armor, legs, and arms. So it's sort of like your character sheet here on when you play out the cards on the table. This is kind of what it will look like, the layout of that as well. And of course over here your deck, what I was just talking about, your pitch cards that you use that are going to go back underneath your deck when you're finished, any cards that are banished from the game, and in your graveyard up in here as well too. So this is actually an equipment card. This would actually go, it tells you what slot it goes into your arms, and it gives you an ability over here as well too. So a lot of these cards, like I said, are going to be based upon Prism's class, if you will. So she's a light illusionist. So this, as you can see, is an illusionist equipment card. But we'll go just through a few of these, and then I'll show you the other deck as well. But man, the artwork on these is just phenomenal. Like, I feel like the quality of the card and the layout of the card, the art style of the card, very reminiscent of modern day Magic the Gathering. Although Magic the Gathering's really been up in its game lately in the fact that it's doing like full border art and that kind of stuff. But the artwork on this is, they're beautiful. This deck has a very angel type theme to it, if you haven't noticed already. But the artwork is just phenomenal. I would be surprised if many of these artists didn't also work for Wizards of the Coast on the Magic the Gathering line, and even maybe some of the D&D. I haven't really looked into, this one is actually done by Alexander Makov, but I would be really surprised if some of these artists didn't work for Magic the Gathering as well. So, of course, you get multiples of a lot of cards. See, now this is cool. This is like a full art card as well. I wonder if this is a special card. Illusionist Mentor. You may only have the Librarian in your deck if your hero is young. Okay, so it's a mentor card. But, I mean, even as you can see here, the difference, this is like a full art card. There's no border around it. The art stretches all the way to the edge. Which kind of designates it as being a very cool, unique card. It's just beautiful. It's not foil, like the character card, but man, the artwork is beautiful. It's so good. I love it. I'm in love already, and I know very little about this game, other than it's very combat focused. Like I said, from what I understand, there's just a lot of creating a deck, a hero with equipment and weapons and resources and attacks, and fighting your opponent until one side loses all their life points. This is an aura. Don't know much about this at all. I'm assuming it's sort of like an equipment piece, but it stays in play. And we got some purple bordered cards. This is an illusionist action. I mean, come on. The artwork just, it's so good. And half of these games, these collectible card games, I'm in it for the art too. I'm such an addict when it comes to collecting things, be it miniatures or books, books. I do a lot of collecting books just for the cover art and the design. I'm the same way with trading cards. I love to crack packs. I love that endorphin rush I get from opening cards, no matter what game it is. But even just collecting this as art pieces is I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. Let's see if there's any other cool ones in here. I mean, they're all really cool, but yeah, like look at this. This is gorgeous. Illuminate, light action attack. If Illuminate hits, put it in your hero's soul. So what I understand from this, just briefly, from Prism, what she can do, or a lot of the light characters can do, is that they can add cards that are used to their soul, which I'm assuming is just placed underneath their card. But with that being said, they can use those cards that are in their soul to create these things, spectral shields. And you get 3 of these. These are just token cards, as you can see here at the bottom. If you play Magic the Gathering, you're very familiar with token cards. But this is, you use cards from your soul to sort of create these shields, and these are double-sided. So it just gives you like an extra ability that's unique to her, or at least this type of, maybe an illusionist. Let's crack up with this one. This one is a I'm gonna call him Chain. I'm assuming that's pronounced, or Kane maybe if you do the hard CH. But he is a Shadow Rune Blade. They had 4 different characters there. These are the 2 I picked up, but there were 2 sort of light-sided cards, and then there were these 2 that were sort of Rune Blade Shadow card type decks. So this is just the 2 that I picked out of the 4 that they had available. And well, as you can see here, Chain, or Kane, however you want to call him, kind of a vampire-esque looking thing. His card is foiled as well. Very well done. It gives this card, the foiling on this just gives it such a depth to the artwork. It gives it a very 3D effect, which I hope is coming across on the camera because it looks really cool in person. But as you can see down here, he's got those keywords, Shadow and Rune Blade. He's a hero and young, so he's only got 20 health. It's hand size of 4, or intellect is what their term is that they're using for that. I mean, yeah, look at this. This is sort of like the librarian card. This is the full art spread on there. It is a mentor card, says you may only have it if your hero is young. He's a Rune Blade mentor, so I'm assuming you can use this with any character that's a Rune Blade. And from what I learned from the owners down at Lantern Games as well, is that they do come with booster packs, and so you might encounter heroes in booster packs that you can build around that might be Rune Blades, or they might be Shadow, or they might be Illusionist, and you can use those cards to build decks around them as well. This one's not foil either, but it's still really cool. Galaxy Black. This is a Rune Blade weapon. It's a sword. Oh, notice there too it says two-handed. So normally on your table, on your play area, you can hold 2 weapons, right? You have 2 hands. Your hero has 2 hands. So normally you can put a weapon here in this slot and one in this slot. It looks like this one is two-handed, so you would only be able to use this one card instead of 2 separate ones. Yeah. Galaxy Black hits a hero, deal 1 arcane damage to that hero. I don't know what arcane damage is, but that's pretty cool. I mean, the art, it's like this black sword in outer space kind of flow. That's cool. Ebon Fold. This is an equipment. Oh, it's like a helmet. That's cool. Check that out. Yeah, Shadow Equipment Head. Oh man, that's fun. Aether Weave Armor, or Aether Iron Weave, which is a chest piece. Gloves. Snapdragon Scalers. These are for your legs. So these are all equipment. This is an attack card, as you can see here. It costs, oh geez, 6 to play. Man, that's crazy. That's super expensive. Gives you 1 resource if you pitch it. It does 6 damage. Okay, so that makes sense. And you can use it as a defense card for 3. And so, oh, it's a legendary chain specialist. So it's just for this arcane, just for this character. You may banish 1 or more cards from your hand rather than pay the Soul Reaping's cost. If you do so, gain that power for each card with a blood debt banished in this way. While Soul Reaping is attacking a hero with 1 or more cards in their hand, or in their soul. Oh, so soul might be your hand, maybe? I'm not sure. I haven't read the rules thoroughly yet. I've just kind of watched a couple of videos and read the quick start rules. So soul might actually be your hand, maybe. I'm not sure. It has go again. So this is what's cool about this game, is that you can sort of chain attacks onto each other. So you have this ability where you have 1 action point to start with, and you pay cards to pay resources to play other cards. But if you have any cards that say go again, it gives you another action point, and you can continue to chain attacks onto each other. So that it makes you could just do the sort of Mortal Kombat sort of like video game fighting style where you're chaining attacks together to get these giant combos and stuff. It's I can't wait to really get this to a table and play this, because it seems like it just really has that kind of vibe to it. Bound Demigon. Yeah, these cards are beautiful. Even these dark ones, Riftbind. It's like a giant hand holding it back. Rifted Torment. Rip Through Reality. Seeds, oh gosh. Look at this, like a blood tree. Seeds of Agony. Shadow Runeblade action. You may play Seeds of Agony from your banished zone. Oh, cool. So like even not even in your graveyard, even in the banished zone, you can play it. The next attack action card with cost 2 or less you play this turn gains deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. Go again. So you get that sort of chain going. Blood Debt. Oh, it's got the Blood Debt ability too, so it chains off of that other card that we looked at earlier. I feel like the concept of this game is really simple, the sort of core concept of it, but at the same time there's a lot. I think that's what makes a great card game. And then I actually talked to the owners of Lantern Games about this earlier too. I feel like the staying power of a good card game is one that's collectible, because you want people to keep buying your stuff, but the concepts of the game need to be simple to understand, yet have a wealth of ability to expound upon. And we're actually going to talk about very soon, we're going to talk about the new Magic the Gathering Forgotten Realms, the D&D crossover set, because they've taken the core concepts of that game and have expounded upon it in ways that I just thought that they had run out of ideas. You would think that over all these years that game would have run out of ideas, but they have really expounded upon that, and it's exciting to see that in a game like this. While there are certain concepts that are very similar to games like Pokemon and Magic, there's something super very unique about this as well too, that I feel like just draws from a wealth of history of collectible card games across the way. But that's enough blathering for me about Flesh and Bone. Go check this game out. Like I said, it's gaining some legs here in the United States. And there are places now that are very dedicated to this game, and they're beginning to start carrying it. And you know, for instance, at Lantern Games, they have a bit of this, and I'm excited to go back and grab some booster packs and share them with you as well. But this game is gathering some speed in this country, and I think it's going to be a really a big game to watch. It's going to sit right up there aside things like Pokemon, which is having a huge resurgence right now, and games like Magic the Gathering as well. Flesh and Blood, Lantern Games, Traverse City, Michigan. Go check them out. Click on their link. Give them a like on Facebook. Do all that fun stuff. The guys that own this place, I got to chat with them for about an hour a day, hour and a half, and they're phenomenal. They're very intelligent, very passionate about the hobby, and they've got a really cool place to play too. So go check them out. Until next time, I am Questwise, and please stay safe, and as always, game on, my friends.